Now, we also have to be careful to define what success is. Every field, every career has the payment or the rewards for being the best in that field. It's just that everything also has a different gestation period. Part of the things that I teach, especially when I talk to young people, I said up till the age of 21, you can blame your parents.
For anything.
After 21, you cannot blame your parents. Because you now realize this is what I want to do, right? If you don't take the bull by the horn, it's good to have supportive parents who can help you and say, this is what I want to do. Okay, look, I will support you, right? I have thrown stuff at my kids because they say they want to do. Some they've stuck with, some they've left by the wayside, right? Because if you don't have love for something, sometimes you may not push it to the extent. Now, we also have to be careful to define what success is, right? Because we end up pushing children in a direction where we think this is prestigious or whatever. Every field, every career has the payment or the rewards for being the best in that field. It's just that everything also has a different gestation period. So it's like the best analogy I use is crops. If you plant maize, you will harvest in 3-4 months, right? But that's all you have. You have to plant it next year. Again, you have to plant it next year. If you plant a palm tree, you will wait for 3-4 years before you get a harvest. In your 3-4 years, you are cultivating, you're pruning, you're doing that, you're applying, you're getting nothing. Even when you start to get the harvest, you don't get optimum until about year 8. By year 12, it has paid for all the investments you've made. And from year 12 to 25, you will continue to harvest.
Wow.
So the question I always ask people, are you planting corn or palm tree? Because if you don't recognize
can I just
that,
plant both so I can just have it now.
and so sometimes that's the thing you have to consider. If I want to plant both, right? So I know that I'm planting a palm tree. What will I do for subsistence? So I can be doing odd jobs to keep me alive whilst my focus is on this. But you're very clear, this is why. So if you have to make a major choice, you will not compromise the end goal. So once you understand that, then you know that these are the consequences I have to make. I have bills to pay, therefore I have to work. So if I have to clean the ground for me to do that, I'm very clear. I always told myself, the only thing that I'm scared of is that I'm not scared of height, that I cannot pay the fees of my children. That's the one thing I'm scared of. So at the back of my mind, I say, I can be fired, right, for not delivering results, but I will not be fired for incompetence or the fact that I was corrupt or I played around, I took advantage of my job. So I said those two things I will never be fired for. You can fire me because the results might not be good, because it's not every year I've delivered fantastic results. And you're right to say, you know what, your results are not good. So I said, if I'm fired, what will I be scared of? Okay, how will I pay fees and all of that? So I've told myself, yes, my title today says MD. But what is the job that I can do, right, with my eyes closed? You know what, I can be a regional sales manager for a company. There are companies that pay a regional sales manager 20 million, 25 million per annum. So I can take that job and be paying school fees. Right? It doesn't change who I am, right? Whilst I'm trying to find the right thing that will get me. So at the back of my mind, I am not a prisoner to my title or my position or whatever. I think people have to be free to do that. Else we call certain jobs derogatory, or they say, oh, a teacher doesn't pay. So I ask the question, the owner of British International School, is he not a teacher? The person who started Corona, is he not a teacher?
They own a school, they're more than teachers.
Yeah, but the person started as a teacher. But there's a gestation period, right? You become good at it, then you now become like a proprietor because you're taking from the learnings that you had. But there's some people who cannot be. There's some people who also, and when you want to get to the height of those kind of schools, it starts with the way you set up from the beginning. you cannot set up badly and expect to end that way.
Mm.
So the vision of what you want to set has to be clear. You want to own a studio, is from the way you start from the onset. You want to be a photographer, is from the way you start. Because if you go to Mushi, you go and get one store in the middle of somewhere and you say, this is where I'm going to do my photography, you're going to remain there for the next 20 years.
Okay.
So it's the end that determines. And so this is how you can end up from a photograph to wherever you end. Now, we always see the end result, which is the damage I think sometimes social media is doing today, if you're not careful. Because like I tell people, everybody I see on Facebook has the best wife in the world, has the best husband in the world. So who are the people who are fighting or quarreling? Because on husband's birthday, you are the best person. On child's birthday, you are the best person. On the wife's birthday, you are the best person. So we don't tell ourselves the truth. So somebody else now sees that and feels that, okay, my husband, look at you. Is it not your mate who is doing this? Meanwhile, they've only put the final picture. People who are looking at me will see probably a picture of me today. But I have on my own page, I have a picture of me beside my Bedford truck. It's a reminder. I have it on my phone so that it doesn't get into my head that, you know what, all of a sudden you got here, it's because you're the best thing since sliced bread. No. If you go to the Bible, you tell everybody, oh, okay, Joseph was prime minister. Walk through the history. How many of you, if I say, okay, write a career path to prime minister, will decide that you'll be sold as a slave, you become a prisoner, and then you become prime minister? No, we will write, you're born into a rich family, you go to school, you come out, you're a senator, you're this, you this, because that's what we will write. Yeah. David was anointed king at age 12. He was anointed king. Did he go to the palace immediately? No, he was tending sheep. But why was he tending sheep? A shepherd, right, is one of the critical ways you learn responsibility for animals that cannot think for themselves. Talk less of you are going to lead a nation, right? It was internship. But you can look at it, he was out there, all the other elder brothers were in the army or whatever. But it is there he also learned courage because he had to fight bear, he had to fight lion, he had to go and rescue. Now think of somebody who chooses to go and rescue a lamb from an animal that could kill him when that person is king over a group of people. What will be the quality of the leadership that he had? He learned to play the instrument, right? It was whilst there. You have idol mistake. He learned to use a sling. He learned to play the instrument. He honed it to perfection. So before he became king, he was taken to the palace because the king had mental problems. And okay, there's this guy who can play music, right? Again, to play mental. Again, where? In the palace. If you're going to end up in the palace, how best do you get internship? Is it not by living in the palace and seeing the way the palace is run? Those steps were deliberate. So he spent time in the palace. When he had to go and fight Goliath, what did he use? The weapons he were used to. It was not by accident that he was an expert with a sling or whatever. So when you look at the path, you've been anointed king. What do we expect? They send you to royal school, right? You don't do any work any longer. You don't clean. You have somebody carrying you around. And then when you reach the age of 21, when they are going to make you the king, they just appoint you, right?
Yeah.
No. So what people see is the end result.
Yeah.
They don't see the process that you went through, right? And these are biblical. And Christian, my brothers are expecting a miracle. You just enter and you know what? By fire, overnight. I just pray overnight. And you know what? You get the results. No. Go and look at all the people. When Gideon was selecting the people who were going to fight, and they said he had more than how many people? They said select. How did he select? Was it not aptitude test? Okay, go to the river and go and drink. Now, what those who passed? Those who remember that they are warriors, because in war, you don't lose sight of where you are. They knelt, but the ones who were driven by our test, they jumped in. They were not taken. How many percent of the people? 10%, right? When they sent people to go to check the promised land, there were 12 tribes. They took the best from each. 10 went and they saw all the difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
2 went and they saw the opportunities. They didn't come to say we saw. They brought evidence. That's what the passage says. They brought some fruits to show you this is what it is. Again, the question is, what do you see? Do you see the opportunities or do you see the obstacles? Now, it needed courage for those 2 to stand up and say, we disagree with those 10, which is something we find difficult today. We like to flow with the majority rather than to stand. When you are standing for what you believe, you will be in the minority.
Wow. Too much wisdom. Thank you so much.
My
sir.
pleasure.
Thank you
Pleasure.
so much for this.
Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me